Good day. Welcome to another edition of Spotlight on Mahopac Schools. Eric Gross, your host, along with Superintendent of Schools, Anthony DiCarlo. Anthony, a beautiful fall afternoon at the Mahopac football field.
Yeah, we're getting ready for our big game tonight versus Carmel. You know, this is a rivalry that goes back many, many years. It's the Higgins Trophy we're hosting this year, so we're looking forward to an exciting evening. I'm sure it'll be jam-packed in the stands. There'll be a lot of cheering on both sides, and I'm sure it'll be a great game, and hopefully Mahopac will come out on the winning side.
A winning side for all took place the other day here at Mahopac High when the class of 1969 held their 50th annual reunion. What a day.
It was a special day, and I talked about it with both our current students as well as the students from 69 about that. It really embodied what the Mahopac Way is all about. We talked about it. It was a great ceremony. It was great reflecting on how things were in 69 and how they are now, and our most students getting up and talking to them about some of the questions that they have. It was a special, special day, and I mentioned that, and it's a part of who we are as a community.
We talked to some of the people there that day, including a teacher, our good friend Jim McDonald, former assistant principal here at Mahopac Middle School, the principal at Carmel High for many years, and some of the students from the class of 1969. Let's go back and check it out. It's reunion time, a very special reunion here at Mahopac High School. The class of 1969. Superintendent Anthony DiCarlo. Anthony, where were you 50 years ago?
50 years ago, I was in elementary school. I won't tell you what grade, but I was in elementary. I actually just celebrated my 40th class reunion last month, so this is just a great honor. We're so proud to have the class of 69 back here. And I talk about the Mahopac Way, and this is what the Mahopac Way is about honoring, those who was the original class to come here that I found out in 69. They were the first group to come into Mahopac High School. So we're so thankful that they're coming back and celebrating with us, and we're eager to see what this time capsule has in it.
Can't wait.
Yeah, neither can I. Very much so. I'm sure.
Tina Stokes and Len Shore, the coordinators of this gala. Welcome back.
Thank you. Welcome back. Barely. Place looks the same, though the town looks a lot the same as it did 50, 60 years ago growing up. And the school and the students still look the same. It's really great to be here and looking forward to seeing what's inside the time capsule.
Where do you live now, sir?
I live in Smithtown out on Long Island.
And Tina, what about you?
I live outside of Philadelphia in the western suburbs.
You came all the way back to Mahopac.
I certainly did.
Did they call it Mahopac back then or Mahopac?
I called it Mahopac. Very few people, I think, called it Mahopac, but there are few people in this room who still do. Yeah.
How has the past 50 years been?
It's been good. Can't complain.
After Mahopac or Mahopac High graduation?
It's kind of interesting because one of the songs that we're going to play at our reunion is the theme song from Welcome Back, Kotter, which sort of says that our dreams were our ticket out of here, and now we couldn't wait to come back. So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful town. It was a wonderful school. We have great memories. We got a great education. Just wonderful stories. Wonderful stories.
What else do you say? It's a wonderful story.
Yeah, it is. And you mentioned it so well, Tina, that, you reflect back, and this is the foundation years, right? This is where it makes you who you are and who you become later on in life, and we're so grateful for you to come back. We're honored that you're here, and we look forward to having a great celebration, to seeing what is in that time capsule.
We're going to talk to two of the graduates as well. Check out that time capsule right here on Spotlight on Mahopac Schools. Well, two of the members of the class of 69, Peter Alexanderson and Julie Rada. Peter, of course, was Putnam County's second county executive, and you remember Julie from the Putnam Arts Council for those many, many, many years. Welcome back.
Well, it's great to be back. This is the first time since I left in 1969, probably the day of graduation, I have not set foot in this hallway since then, and that's 50 years, Eric.
And Julie, your class was the first class to actually come into this building.
Yes, it was. We were the first graduating class. We didn't want to leave the old school. We were desperate to stay there and be the last class to graduate, but that didn't happen. But we're proud to have been the first class to graduate from here.
How has the past 50 years been, Pete?
Well, based on the fact I'm still here for the interview, Eric, and based on the fact that last week I had a full hip replacement. 1 week ago. I think the last 50 years have been great.
Usually.
I'm with Pete. I mean, I had 2 hip replacements, so I think this may be renamed by the end of the weekend, this reunion. However, it's wonderful. I mean, to see friends and people, this class, this experience at Mahopac High School meant the world to me. It seriously, seriously did.
How many young people were in the class? Do you recall?
I think we actually graduated 120, 130 in that range. It was not large by today's standards. But keep in mind, my sister's class, which was like 1965, 3 or 4 years ahead of us, I think she only had 70 or 80 kids. So in 1969, this was like a huge class.
Once again, welcome back.
Thank you.
And
Thank
good
you.
seeing you.
Absolutely the
Peter,
same.
the best.
Good to see you again, Eric.
And be well. The class of 1969. And that time capsule that was open was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we didn't even realize it was in the safe, but we come to appreciate it, and it was great. A lot of nostalgia. Looking at Chieftain at that time, and looking at their graduation programs and their theater and the stuff that was done there in that time. It was great. It really was special for our kids to see it, for them to reflect back on it. They were so humbled in the manner in which we were able to do this ceremony, and it was great. It was a highlight of my career. It was really wonderful.
And if you missed it, if you weren't here that day, we're going to give you a special treat. Go back right now and check out the ceremony for that big reunion.
I'm very happy to see members of our current faculty here and many members of our student body, so thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. Very, very happy people can join us. Like I said earlier, my name is Matt Lawrence, and I do have the privilege of being the principal of Mahopac High School. And to have Mahopac, I haven't learned that accent yet.
Thank you, Ross. There's no mayonnaise in it.
Pardon me?
There's no mayonnaise in it.
No mayonnaise in it?
No.
Okay. So having this extra treat of having all of you up here, and you have your major reunion tomorrow night, I believe, right? Over in Connecticut, in Danbury, Connecticut. We're really anxious to see what's inside the time capsule. It's going to be quite the thing. I know, Leonard, were you responsible for putting things in a time capsule?
I might have been, but it was 50 years ago.
I think you're holding out on us. I think you know full well what's inside that, and I can't tell you. I had no idea that time capsule was in our vault until Leonard contacted Bonnie, and ever since then, I've been like a kid on Christmas Eve, wondering and thinking maybe I can kind of rip open the package and take a look to see what's inside there. So we're all as anxious as you are to see what's in there. So I hope you've enjoyed your visit here. I know that you're going to go off to Lakeview to take a walk around there as well. Once we're done here, feel free to take a walk around. Take a look, see what's changed, and I think quite a bit has changed. Where the wood shops and metal shops maybe were when you were around walking the hallways here at Mahopac High School, have given way to technology courses and engineering courses and 21st century technologies. So quite a bit has changed, no doubt about it. Are there members of MOST here that wanted to come up and have some questions for our class of 1969? Yeah? So why don't we do that? Why don't we have our students come on up, and then after our students, we'll have our superintendent come and give you a couple words as well. They prepared trick questions for you. They've done some research.
My name is Nina Padarati. I'm a senior here at Mahopac High School, and I'm Executive Secretary of Student Government. So my question for you all would be, what made the time in which you graduated high school unique? And I mean that for you personally, but also from a historical perspective. What would you say was really unique about the time you were going out into the real world?
And then we'll pass it so people can hear.
Vietnam. So some of the people who graduated before us went to Vietnam, came back
lost one of our class members too in Vietnam as well.
We lost a classmate named Billy Todd in Vietnam. And during that time also was, between 68 and 69, was Woodstock. Anybody here went to Woodstock?
Woodstock was summer 69.
Summer of 69, yeah. But anyway, that happened and that changed everything. Plus women's lib came about that time, so things really, really changed. Because I went to college down in the South and we had to wear dresses and pearls and gloves to go walk downtown. And the next year we were able to wear blue jeans, so everything changed. And that was another thing. Girls did not wear slacks to school until probably our junior year, maybe.
And those Nike leggings you were in, you probably would have gotten the bus.
Our students might not know the word slacks. All right, next question.
Hi, I'm Chase Santorella. I'm a senior here at MAPAC, and I am the executive treasurer of MOST. My question would be, what would be one piece of advice you could give to graduating seniors going off to college or just going into the workforce?
Hi, I have 3 kids, and I'll give you the same advice that I've given each of them over the years. They're all in their 30s now, which is chase your dreams and find a profession that you like and that you want. You'll go to work every morning enjoying work and enjoying your life.
Thank you. Anybody else with helpful advice for our soon-to-be graduates?
Don't ever stop learning. Always ask questions. And I'm still trying to decide what I want to be when I grow up. So be curious too. Because there's a heck of a lot out in the world to explore.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Peter Alexanderson, use your resources wisely. At this point in your lives, you have wonderful resources in the form of your faculty members. So, inevitably you're going to become friends with some, and use them as a sounding board, trying to decide which direction you want to go and what you might want to be and what college you might want to go to, because they have the advantage of many years of life, and it's an existing resource that's readily available. So use that wisely.
And please don't forget to call your mother.
Very good. All right, next question.
Hi, my name is Victoria McKenzie. I am the senior class president. My question for you guys is, do you remember where you were for the moon landing?
In the basement, watching the TV.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, we were all watching TV.
Yeah, it was televised live on black and white TV. I was in a friend's house over by Red Mills, and we were sitting there watching. It was on in the evening. It was one of those incredible things that you saw. Again, growing up in that era, we had not started even exploring space. We were in 2nd or 3rd grade when John Glenn did his first little suborbit trip in space, and by the time we were graduating high school, man was landing on the moon.
I don't remember the moon landing because that was in the summer, right, in July, but what I do remember is the day President Kennedy was shot. And I was sitting in band, and we were practicing with Mr. Orford, and all of a sudden we were just silent. Absolutely stunned, but I'll never forget that.
How were you notified?
I
Not through
think,
text.
no, someone came in and Buster told Mr. Orford, and then he went and told all, we were sitting in band, and everybody just sat there, and then for the next, several weeks, we just walked around in a daze. But yeah, that was one of the most profound.
Whispered to the teacher, and Mr. Davidoff said, the president has been shot. And I thought, what president? That's how, you couldn't even comprehend it.
Yeah, it was very shocking. I'll never forget that.
Thank you.
It's the only time I saw a teacher standing out in the hall crying.
executive vice president, and I was just wondering what clubs and activities were you guys a part of, like outside and inside of school in 1969?
Question. Clubs and activities of 1969.
Well, that's funny you should ask. Most, Chieftain, Wampum, all those.
Oh, well, Renee and I do cheerleading, band, chorus, all-state chorus.
And I was a yearbook editor, and we were just talking about it, how that experience that year taught me so much, and I became project manager throughout my entire life because of it. So it's really those experiences that stay with you forever. So my advice is when you go off to college, get involved, and you will have a much more rewarding experience than if you just go to class every day.
Great, thank you. Oh, we got more clubs.
I was in a variety of activities. I actually played football, and I had wonderful coaches, including Joe Bellucci, who was a favorite teacher of many of us. And Mr. Bellucci recently passed away, but what a wonderful individual. But like my junior and senior year, I just had so many fun activities. So playing football was at the top of my list, but I was also in drama club. And somehow they picked me to play the role of Algie Moncrief in The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. And I thought it was going to be a real bummer, but I had the best time possible with a group that I can't remember all the names, but it's just a wonderful association. So, you guys have wonderful opportunities, and it doesn't have to be in sports, it could be in drama. But whatever you do, take full use of those activities, because you're going to remember them for the next 50 years.
Hopefully you remember them for the next 50 years. And Pete's also being modest. Pete was president of the junior class. He was the president of most his senior year. He was admitted to West Point, and about 20 years ago, he was county executive of Putnam County. So he moved on, and he's done a lot, and a lot of the credit goes to the grounding and upbringing that we all had at Mahopac High School.
During high school, I was very much involved with the chorus. We had Mrs. Orford, who very much encouraged each and every one of us. And one of the funny stories about one of my classmates wrote when I asked them, tell us a story about your teacher, your favorite teacher. And it was Mrs. Orford, and she advised him to mouth the words. So I also went to All-State Chorus, and I was involved I played hockey, field hockey, which was a lot of fun, and also was part of the ski team. We had snow ski, and at that time, it was called Birch Hill, not Big Birch, and we all had night skiing, and that was always a blast. So we got a lot of old good stories from that. Oh, and one more thing. We didn't do a lot of outside activities. All of our activities were in school. A few of us took dance or extra music classes, but it wasn't running all over the place, playing this sport, doing this activity, doing that. All of our activities were in school. We made the most of our school years.
I'm a lot older than most of these people. I was the yearbook advisor to the young lady who was here telling you that she was the yearbook editor. And one of the things that I remembered, and we just talked about it a little while ago, is how the students were able to depend on each other and learn from each other and turn to a new staff every year, which was very much student selected. So when you go on to college, use that approach with your friends and your classmates. You can get a lot from students and a lot from your classmates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, students, for your questions. We really appreciate you taking the time to it's great to watch the graduates of Mahopac High School connect with our current students. Outstanding connections. So it's my pleasure now to ask Mr. DiCarlo, the Superintendent of Schools, to come and welcome you.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. And I want to just take this time to thank you, Dr. Lawrence, for really your efforts in making this happen. It's a tribute to you and the dedication that you have to understanding about how important it is to welcome those back. So those of you who are here from the class of '69 and the students that are here, since I started here almost 2 years ago, I talk about the Mahopac way and what makes this community so special, and you mentioned a number of things. And this is what makes Mahopac such a special place. You talked about Vietnam. You talked about heroes. Last Friday night, this school district recognized its heroes, its volunteers, people who have sacrificed not only for this community, but for this country. And we had a beautiful ceremony out on the football field. That's what Mahopac is about. And it's so wonderful to hear you say that goes back 50 years. I'll tell you what hasn't changed. How do you pronounce it? Mahopac or Mahopac? To this day, I could be someplace and I'll say Mahopac, and somebody will correct me and say, no, Mahopac. Then I'll say Mahopac, and they'll say, no, it's Mahopac. So 50 years later, it hasn't changed since 1969 when this building started. What's interesting is you spoke to the seniors, and it's wonderful, but you know who needs to hear that? Our freshmen, our sophomores, and our juniors, to really get involved in school. And they'll tell you, when I speak to them, and I speak to every single class, 6th grade to 12th grade, and I talk about being involved, being in clubs, activities, because as you know, and you said it, when you're involved in clubs and activities and you're part of a program, you do better as a student, okay? So you're kind of validating what I've said to them today, which is absolutely wonderful. 50 years goes by so fast. I'm sure it's just like you feel sometimes you were just here and where's it gone? Interesting enough, some of the places that you were actually in are still here. So right behind here is the original music area. We just passed this past May a $54 million bond because we owe these students here new spaces to learn, okay, for music, for dance, and sports, and clubs and activities, and STEM labs, and science, and the gyms, and the locker rooms. So we are trying to build up what we need to so they could be as successful as you were. Because when you started here, it was brand new. Not that we're building a brand new high school, but we're adding to our programs. So from myself, the bottom of my heart, I actually celebrated, I was telling some of you, my 40th. Okay, that tells you how old Mr. DiCarlo is. My 40th class reunion last month. And I share this with you. As you leave, and you're going to go on to college, you're going to make new friends. Remember those friends who you hold dear, and try to get together every once in a while. May not be able to happen every year, but maybe every 2 years or 5 years, because those relationships are so important, because you're going to pick up the phone, and you're going to have friends that you might ask advice, or sometimes ask help. And these are models for you on how this class has, stayed together, and they're here to celebrate tomorrow. So, for myself as a superintendent of schools, from the Board of Education, the entire Mahopac community, we wish you all the best. We're honored that you're here for 50 years, and we hope you come back another 50 years from this. So thank you all, and God bless you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DiCarlo, very much. Well, it's time. I cannot wait another moment. We're just going to do this, Leonard. I don't know who you picked to be the lucky ones to pop this thing open. Can I crack it open a little bit?
Yeah, you can crack it open.
I won't open it, but...
Again, because no one really has any firm idea of what's in it, and Tina, you want to come up
I'm not
as
going
well?
to look.
But we had asked Eugene Bosch, who's with the Putnam or Carmel Historical Society. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today. When the story is, we buried this 50 years ago. We barely remember doing it. Tina was trying to put together the program. She contacted Mrs. Smith from Dr. Lawrence's office. They said, oh yeah, about 12 years ago, we were putting the new addition on the front where the security is, and we came across this box. We didn't have any idea what it was. We put it in Dr. Lawrence's safe, and it sat there for the last 12 years.
Dr. Lawrence had no clue.
And so for the last 3 or 4 months, we were putting this together. Again, I thank Dr. Lawrence, Mr. DiCarlo. You have done a wonderful job with this district. We saw the new engineering unit. The district is adapting to the education that you guys need to move forward, and echoing what Mr. DiCarlo said about staying involved. When we were growing up, as Judy, one of our friends, said, you know, there were no outside activities. Kids didn't have dance. Kids didn't have travel sports teams. So we were much closer knit. You guys have even a bigger burden. You have cell phones. You have video games. All of these things allow you to easily escape from dealing with other people, and it's not a good idea. Get out there, talk to people, stay involved in your community. It's the way you will help yourself and you will help your community. And nobody has any idea what's in there. We don't know if it's confetti. We don't know if it's newspapers back from, 68. Guesses are that there may be some additions of Chieftain in there. One of the suggestions I said was, I hope we put in one of the playbills from Hair, which was a big show back then, things like that. No idea what's in there. So, Dr. Lawrence, you can have the honor.
Oh, I already cracked it open, but I will not open it. That's going to be your
Tina,
job.
you can go.
So there's nothing about Woodstock and there's no marijuana.
We're just hoping that this is what we think it is.
I don't know what you're thinking, but...
There's no marking outside this box to identify.
No, nothing at all.
And if it's $1 million, we all split it equally.
It is. It's a chieftain.
What is it?
Chieftain. So we shook the box. It didn't make a lot of noise, so we assumed that there's a lot of paper in it. Where's Debbie Levine? Drumbeat.
And all of it in
Literary
excellent
magazine,
shape.
yes. Yes, in incredibly excellent condition. The Mayapack High School Handbook for Staff.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to just reprint this thing. I haven't seen one of those laying around.
It's typewritten.
Mimeographed.
Okay, well, it works.
Yeah, probably the section on school security is one paragraph.
Yes, you're probably
And
right.
murder or capture, not enough ham.
What's the date?
Is this, Peter, this might be the picture of you in the play. Or it's the Christmas concert. A message from Mr. O'Sullivan.
How long is it? You want to read it?
It's not too long, no. But I can't read it because I don't have my glasses.
You can try it in a minute.
This is our graduation program for the class of 1968. Barbara Dreyfus made the salutatory address. The valedictorian was George Ross.
Unfortunately, both of them have passed.
We sang, I May Never Pass This Way Again, Blowing in the Wind. The answer, my friend, is Blowing in the Wind, and The Impossible Dream.
Out on the baseball field, yes.
Then there's the list of graduates and the honors and awards, which Peter got them all. Peter Alexander. He didn't tell you, he also played the cello. In the process of doing this reunion, Peter, I went through the yearbook multiple times, and you were on every page. So he was involved. So that's our program.
It's
And
another edition of Chieftain, and the headline is Nixon Carries Mayapack. There's another picture of Pete on the front page, and there's a picture of Bruce Upham, Bob Ross, Kirk Overs, and Jen Nussbaum spoofing the candidates.
this you will be very interested in. The condition of these materials, by the way, is pristine.
Really impressive.
Yeah, they're not even yellow. The Board of Education of the Mayapack Public Schools cordially invites you to attend the formal dedication exercises of the new Mayapack High School Baldwin Place Road, on Sunday, April 20th, 1969. So that was an invitation to the dedication to this building.
And
So
probably
that's
the time we buried the capsule.
Maybe, I don't know.
Somebody's report card?
And this is a letter also, an invitation to the dedication, signed by the superintendent of schools at that time, who was, anybody remember Fred Schneider?
Schneider, yes.
And that's it, folks. No, that's it. Coins?
I definitely won't be able to see it. There's 4 different coins. I wouldn't be able to read them.
One's a dime.
There's a dime,
Nickel.
a nickel, and 2 pennies. If we split that evenly,
I'm guessing probably the dates are from the 4 years.
I don't know, could be.
But then somebody raised the question, now that we know what is in it, looking back, what should we have put in it?
Right.
So this is great. This was, yeah. I'm going to pass it back.
Again, thinking about what should have been in it, because we've had 4 or 5 months to do it, things that we should have put in it would have been things that would have been emblematic of our era, that all you guys probably would not have any idea what to even do with.
Like a rotary telephone?
Yeah, like, well, a rotary telephone, but everyone had their own little transistor radio. That's when you listened to radio. It was mostly AM, a little bit of FM, came in later on. We took pictures with little Instamatics, with little flash cubes that went around, in 4s. Those were the kind of things that it might have been interesting to have put into the box. But, I think we made good selections. Whoever it was that made the selections, we did a good job of putting it together. And I certainly commend whoever put the box together, because all this stuff is in great condition. And I think either we will leave it with the school, if you want to set something up, or work with the Historical Society down by Lakeview and give the materials there as well. And at this point, I guess we'll end the formal program. People want to come up and look around, or students want to come up, we can talk. There are some refreshments out in the hall for the kids. I'll turn it back to Dr. Lawrence. What? Yeah, oh, okay. The other, well, we've got plenty of time. It's only about 2:45. By 3:15, anybody who's doing the tour of the Lakeview School should be out of here. We're going to meet in the parking lot on the side of the school. For all of us, near where Nola Tedesco used to live. Park there, we're going to go through that side door and have a tour about 3:45. So we still have some time.
We have a really great opportunity here, right? So, and I don't want to miss it. I would like to invite our visiting members of the class of 1969. Maybe we could get the class of 1969 to come up, and some of our current students to come up, and we could take a picture, and our staff as well, to kind of capture some of the last 50 years of our history here. I think it's a good opportunity for us. Right here, right in the back, if we can get the class of 1969 to line up here, and then our students to come up on stage and staff, it'd be great.
We haven't talked about the bond referendum in quite some time. What's an update?
Yeah, so we have begun our design phase in the high school. The Tetra Tech architects, along with Dr. Lawrence and his team of teachers, science, music, the arts, our STEM labs, our high school gym, especially where the kids dress. We started to design what those spaces are going to look like. So we have the first rendition. We're going to be coming back in a couple of weeks. The architects have been working on them, and the engineers. We'll take a look at that, start to fine-tune, and start to put things together, believe it or not, that have to get up to the state for approval, because it takes about a good 12 months to get that stuff approved. Where we are right now, next summer, all the lights that are the original lights will be coming down. The stadium field will have new lighting, new poles on it, roofing throughout the district, especially down at the fall school. That whole roof is going to be taken apart and a new roof will be put on. That's our first part of the project we're doing, which that'll be in the summer of 2020. And then in 21, right up here, the bodice of the high school work is going to be done. And as like anything else, Eric, when you're doing your own home, It doesn't happen like that. Although we're going to be starting in the summer, there's going to be work that'll be going on through the year, and there'll be a lot of things that we need to do to work together. But at the end, we're going to be reshaping this campus here.
People always ask the turf field, the new turf field at the other field. When's that going in?
That's going to be in the summer of 21.
Okay, so another year for that.
Yes, another year for that, correct.
Okay, so things are starting to happen. As Anthony said, it's not going to happen overnight, but within, 3 years, the project will be done?
3 years. By 2022, it should all be done. And the most important part of this is that we really are including both the teachers and students in, because it's their spaces. And we want to make sure that they're usable, they're practical, and that they meet the needs of students getting ready for career in college.
Foundation Aid is back in the news. They had a conference in Yonkers just the other day. What are you hearing, and will that ever get resolved?
So there's a want for it, to be fair and equitable. The issue, Eric, is the money. Yeah. You have to find the money to be able to do that. And I'm hoping, although I wasn't there, I know, and I heard from some of my colleagues, that we need to look at unfunded and unfunded and mandated, things that the state has put on us, unfunded mandates that are costing districts a lot of money. So the state can say, we want you to do X, Y, Z, but we're paying for it. The taxpayer's paying for it. So if we can start to limit those unfunded mandates and start to recapture some of that money on a state level, we may be able to go back to what that foundation aid is. So, next year's a big year. It's an election year. Everybody's up in the state. I know there's a big yearning to look at it to see how we can do it to make it equitable and fair. And as long as they start to have these conversations about lessening some of the burdens on the districts, on the municipalities, on the towns to free up some of this money, it may be possible.
Have you talked to our state senator Harcum, Sullivan Byrne about this?
They've both been wonderful. They both understand it. There's a want to do it and to be equitable. Again, they have to find the money to be able to do that. And there are certain parts of the state where it's not as easy. You go up to the rural areas, when these towns are spread out all across the place. People say, well, why don't you just merge? It's not that easy to say to merge. And people want their home districts. But if we get that foundation aid back, we can do a lot more things meaningful in instruction, social, emotional wellness. So we're hoping that there is a will to do it. Just have to find the money how to be able to do it.
As Anthony would say, stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned is right.
Okay. You see a lot of orange and black around the stores nowadays, around communities nowadays. Halloween's right around the corner. Yeah. You have an important message out there.
Just please be safe. I mean, it's really, really important when you go out trick-or-treating, especially with young kids, to make sure there are adults present, to make sure you're careful on what you're walking, on what you're doing, to make sure that you're checking everything, candy and things that kids are bringing in. And you just want to make sure you provide the most safe atmosphere during that time, because it's very, very, very important. Very important. And the kids have a fun time. Listen, adults have a good time with Halloween. It's become one of the major holidays in the country. We just want everybody to be safe and responsible.
We talk about orange and black. I've seen a lot of red and white in the stores already, too.
Yeah, very, very much so. The seasons just seem to come quicker and quicker and quicker. Listen, as long as we have a really mild and a not snowy winter, we'll be in good shape.
Well, Jim Witt's a good friend of ours, and Jim is the weatherman, and he, of course, is that long-range Hudson Valley calendar of his. We're chatting with Jim. We'll get him on the program. We'll invite him to come down.
I think that would be wonderful. I would love to have him do that.
And Jim's long-range forecast, by the way, not too much of a problem in December. January, okay. February, he's saying the first week of April, watch out. So let's see what happens.
We've had major April storms in the past. Let's just hope it doesn't happen.
Let's hope he's wrong.
Yeah, let's hope he's wrong.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Eric. Have a great weekend, and go Pack tonight.
Okay. Until next time, for Superintendent Anthony DiCarlo, our astute director, producer, cameraman, you name it, Stosh, I'm Eric Gross. Thanks again for joining us for this edition of Spotlight on Mahopac Schools. Bye-bye now.
For more information, please visit our website, www.mahopac.k12.ny.us.